Welcome back to PRI. I have a special guest today, a great friend, somebody I've known a long, and admired a long time, Coach Bobby April of the New York Jets. Coach, thanks for being with us today.
It's an honor to be here. Joe Yanni Stadium, East Jefferson Warriors. Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Bobby, you've been coaching 25 years. You got into coaching a long time ago. After playing at Nicholls State with a couple of great friends of mine,
Yep.
Gary Barbaro, Gary Bordelon.
Sure.
Had a great career at Nicholls State. Got into coaching, but you played for a legend at Chalmette, Coach Bobby Nuss.
Yeah.
How much did Coach Nuss have to influence you as a coach?
Well, I think like, anybody at that age, high school football, it's probably your first greatest investment. It's where you're doing something that you're really committed to for the first time. And it's hard to achieve success because there's competition, it's hard to do. The only real fun is when you win the game. Until you look back many years later, you think every day was fun. But at the time, it was a tough deal. And he influenced me to a great degree. Not only was he my coach the 4 years I was there, I grew up in the neighborhood. So I used to be at practices all the time, and I saw him coach and watched him coach. And so it was a real honor for me to play there. And then when I went back to teach at Chalmette, he was still there. He wasn't the head coach anymore because he retired, but he was working in the administration. So I spent a long time with Coach Nuss.
You are one of the most animated coaches in the NFL. I mean, you have been thought of as probably one of the better NFL special teams coaches all around, Bobby. Where do you get your style from? Man, you got so much energy on the sidelines, run up and down. Everywhere you've been, you've never changed.
I don't know. I think it just comes natural. I'm very fortunate, very blessed to be able to have this career. I wanted to coach from the time I was about, 11 or 12. And then to have the honor to do it, it's a lot of gratitude. It's exciting. I guess that's it. I don't know. It just comes natural.
You coach with the Jets. Your son is with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
You'll face each other this year. You've
Twice
done it before. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of, do y'all not talk for a couple of days before then, or what?
My son doesn't talk to me. I try to talk to him. I don't want to know anything about the teamwork because we've played against each other. We've been very fortunate the last 4 years since he came into the league. We coached together at Philly, and then we coached against each other the last 2 years. So when I was in Oakland and he was with the Jets, we played him. We played him both times, and now we'll play each other twice a year. So, he holds his cards pretty close to the vest, and so he don't want to talk to me very much during game week. But I always try to call him a little rascal who just doesn't return the calls.
You've coached with a lot of people, and I remember back in the days coming to see you after the Atlanta Falcons visited the Superdome, and Jerry Glanville was quite a character. You've played with some great characters. You've taken a little bit from each one of those guys.
I have all the characters, probably. I mean, Glanville, Cowher, Mora, Martz. I mean, there's a lot of characters. Andy Reid is a little bit low-key compared to those guys, but he's a character away from the game. So there's been a lot of characters to play with. And, of course, Dennis Allen's back here in New Orleans, not far from here, was a great guy to work for.
You see a common thread with those guys, Bobby?
Yeah, I think all those guys have really worked hard to get where they are and have really paid a lot of attention to detail. And like the one guy I didn't mention, because people know me from here, I coached with Ditka, and there could be no greater character. But all of them really loved the game. Coach Ditka, that was his forte. I mean, he really loves the NFL, and all of them have a great degree of that, as well as the commitment they made to reach that goal of being a head coach.
Got a couple of quick questions for you, Bobby. First of all, special teams. You do such a great job, and I don't think people understand how difficult it is, because you have to kind of mold some guys sometimes who are trying to earn a starting role on a team, have to take some rookies and have them mesh together. And they change the rules on you every once in a while.
Yeah, they change them a lot.
That has to be one of the toughest positions to coach special teams.
It's really gotten tougher with the CBA, with the collective bargaining agreement, where they cut back the stuff you can do in the spring. you know, and it's really tough to develop a guy. It's really tough to nurture him over the spring. And that's been the toughest thing, because once we go into camp, and then the camps have been cut, you know, we can't practice twice a day. We have a walkthrough and then a practice. Then every 7th day's got to be a day off, you know, and then you have your normal cycle of games, and you have the day off before. And so the practices have really been cut back to get the right amount of reps, to get the right amount of training, has made it tough. It's made it tougher. You know, it's kind of like Lincoln said, you know, if you want me to do a half-an-hour speech, I'll do it right now. If you want me to do a 5-minute speech, you got to give me about 6 weeks. I mean, you gotta organize that thing with such a fine, because the time is limited.
Last question, Bobby. You know, you've coached in college, you've been in the NFL, but if you had to look into the camera and address a young man, young lady who's looking to go to college at any level, what's most important? What should they ask the coaches recruiting them? What should they be looking at for a university or college that they're thinking about going to?
Well, I maybe got to this a little bit late in my philosophy of recruiting, but I ultimately got to it, and I think it's the best way. I only wanted to recruit players that would really represent the university, not only as a football player, but as a student, and then consequently as an alumni. And I think that's the approach, reversing it, that the athlete ought to take. The athlete ought to be looking at certainly the football and how they're going to develop in their sport, but what they're going to do academically, how they're going to achieve what they want to do as a student. And then what are they going to be when they're an alumni? Not an NFL player or a professional player. What are they going to be as alumni? And I think if both sides address that, you can come out. You know, I always wanted the kid to represent me in the classroom. I didn't want him to be a problem in the classroom. I certainly didn't want him to be failing, because I'm failing him. I'm putting him at that school, and I'm not doing the right thing for him. And then I wanted him to be a success on the field after football. And if the player, the student, can think about addressing those issues, I think integrating those two thoughts from the recruiter and the athlete be a pretty good product.
Well, Bobby, you've been such a great ambassador, great friend. You represent New Orleans and Chalmette.
Chalmette, of course.
So well, and I'm so glad to see you again, Bobby.
It's been an honor.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll be back with more of Prep Recruiting Insider. Don't go away.